Big 12 Today with Ari and Tate. Monday through Friday, 8 to 11 Eastern Time. Your home for all things Big 12.
And away we go on a Thursday. Happiness is a choice. Thank you for choosing us. James Westling out sick again today here at the Big 12 spring meetings at the Omni PGA in Frisco. I am Ari Temkin. Taman Turner is with us, of course, producing today's show on site. We've got our friends from Raycom Sports, Big 12 Studios, as well, engineering today's video broadcast, which you can find as a part of Big 12 Studios. Go to big12studios.com to find all the platforms in which you can stream us. But we got a busy day today, a lot to get to. We're going to continue our Road to Arlington series, taking a look at Cincinnati and a deep dive on the Bearcats football team. I think yesterday's show featured the Road to Arlington on K-State. A lot of optimism. Today, though, maybe not as much optimism on a Cincinnati Bearcats football team, so we'll dive into that in the second hour of the show today. Busy day yesterday. Was able to sit down and record interviews with Bill Self, Tommy Lloyd, Randy Bennett, Molly Miller, and Gene Taylor. So really excited to share those interviews with you. Plus, Bear Bachmeyer will be a guest later on today's show. Stay tuned for tomorrow's show where you can hear Bill Self, Tommy Lloyd, Randy Bennett, Molly Miller, Gene Taylor, plus all of the football coaches who will be in the house today. And we will try to bring you as many interviews with football coaches and athletic directors as we possibly can. So yesterday was at the spring meetings here at the Omni PGA in Frisco about basketball. There was the women's basketball coaches, men's basketball coaches meeting with the commissioner, with the TV partners, with us, with everybody to kind of go over, recap what happened last year and project what's ahead to the future. Today, though, is football. And, you know, on the heels of football day here at spring meetings, Chris Vanini from The Athletic got a great quote from Brett Yormark about the potential for 10 league games. Brett Yormark told Chris Vanini of The Athletic yesterday, quote, "If we go to 24, we should explore going to 10 conference games. It's something I would like to do on lots of different levels," end quote. This is not a surprise from the standpoint of both the ACC and the Big Ten during their spring meetings have discussed the possibility of 10 games against Power 4 opponents. It was just this year that the SEC is upgrading to 9 games against Power 4 opponents. So they got rid of that, cupcake final regular season game. But 10 league games for the Big 12, and something I'm sure Yormark will have will make as a topic today as he visits with football coaches. It's interesting because Yormark has such a great relationship with all the coaches. But you could tell in the way that he engages with Kelvin Sampson that Kelvin is sort of the dean of the Big 12 basketball coaches in many ways. And so, it's one of those things where if Yormark is able to get a consensus, is able to get Kelvin Sampson on board for something that he's got an initiative, something he wants to do, there's a good chance he's going to get consensus from the other coaches. I wonder who that is on the football coaching side, because I can't imagine football coaches will be enthused about the idea of playing another conference game. I get it, certainly, and I understand Yormark's point because, as he said with us, you've got to figure out a way to not just replace, but find more revenue than you previously had if you're going to expand to 24. And so Yormark is probably going right now through the process of modeling what those numbers could look like, and another conference game could go a long way in trying to revive some of that revenue, which would help potentially get them over the hump of replacing conference championship games. So that's a huge part of what Yormark is trying to do in order to model and see what the numbers would look like. So not a surprise here, but it's certainly something that's going to be a major talking point with this conference. Taman, what do you think about 10 conference games?
I think right now it's very innovative. What a way to start off the second day of spring meetings with football coming in today. But yeah, I think it's innovative, and it works to Yormark's goal, which is getting the economics. And I think that's a great start.
Yeah, it's a heavy schedule. It's amazing to think about in a 12-team playoff where you play basically 9 conference games, and then most teams in the Big 12 are playing an additional Power 4 opponent. So that's 10 Power 4 games, right? So it's in essence what you're doing now, and I'd imagine you're potentially reducing the amount of Power Four games you're going to play. Meaning, my guess is if you go to 10 league games, that means you're not playing two. You're not playing two or even one Power Four game. You're probably at that point still at 10 Power Four games. So I mean, it's interesting from that standpoint. But the other thing that I think is kind of interesting to look at, and we've talked about this a little bit, and I wonder if it's something that could potentially be socialized, would be, what about carving out the final couple of weeks of the regular season to have a Big 12 postseason tournament? And, maybe it's something where you have the top four seeds and, one plays four in the second to last weekend of the regular season, and then two plays three, and then you have that like Big 12 championship game in the last week of the regular season, especially if you're replacing, that Big 12 championship game. That sort of gives you a championship game, but not on championship weekend because you won't have that anymore. You could even expand it further and go further out. The 10 conference games is interesting, but it almost makes more sense and creates more value, I would think, if you did some sort of tournament at the end of the season, because then you're at least guaranteeing you're going to get the best matchups, which could very well help get you additional bids, even in a losing effort, let's say for a 4 seed, but you have, it's a resume boost because it's a close loss or whatever it is. I think, the more you can kind of cook the deck a little bit to, present the best matchups in that situation, I think the better off you're going to be, and obviously the better TV product you're going to have. And I would think a Big 12 playoff like tournament at the end of the season to find the champion would be far more attractive to a media partner than just an additional game. Now that's, again, both are probably worth more money because you're talking about more conference games, better, those are better games overall. You're going to have better inventory. But for me, it's even more attractive, I would imagine, for a media company to have the rights to a winner take all type Big 12 tournament at the end of the regular season. Just food for thought as we bat around the idea of 10 conference games that Mark brought up yesterday to Chris Vanini of The Athletic. It's certainly something I'd imagine he's going to bring up today to the football coaches. The other thing, and again, like right now, you play 9 conference games and then a Power 4 opponent. And then if you make the playoff, if you have the bye, you have to win a quarterfinal, semifinal, and the final, right? So that's 3 games if you have a bye, right? So that's, now we're talking about 13 games minimum against Power 4 opponents, not even to mention the 14th game that you play, right? So it's at that point 14 football games, 13 against Power 4 opponents. And if you don't have the bye, that's 14 and 15, right? So imagine what that number looks like in a 24-team field. And by the way, I didn't even factor in the Big 12 championship game, right? So Texas Tech's a good example of this. They played last year, 14 games. Then you get to the quarterfinals. Then, I mean, if you keep winning, this is close to an NFL type schedule. A 24-team playoff only generates more of that, right? So, I mean, just the grind. So think about, you have to play 10 conference games. Let's say you don't have to play an additional Power 4 game, which would make sense to me. Or if you do, then how many rounds do you have to get through in the playoff just to get to the national? Right? Like, we're talking about a lot of football games.
Yeah, right.
The depth needed to withstand to try to win a national title. Like, you need depth now with 12 teams. You double the field, and then you're talking about 10 conference games. Man, that's a lot. So I understand exactly why. Again, if you're in a situation where you have a 24-team playoff, you're getting rid of the conference championship game. You need to figure a way to replace that some way. So a 10th conference game would do that. I wonder if you have some sort of a end of the season tournament instead, and you kind of carve out the final 2 weeks and say seed 1 plays seed 4, seed 2 plays seed 3, and then the 2 winners play for a conference championship game the last week of the season, and and the 2 teams that lose play in a potential resume boosting game in a what we could call a de facto third place game. I wonder if that's better than just a blanket. Everybody plays 10 games. Everybody would still play 10 conference games in that situation, but I think it'd be a little bit deeper from the standpoint of you're at least cooking the books to get the right matchups with the top teams at the end of the regular season. Will be interesting to see how that conversation is received today here at the Omni PGA Frisco by football coaches. Also yesterday, the Big 12 made announcements on their opening slate of football TV selection. So we'll dig into some of those intriguing matchups, but we now have, the time, date, and location of the majority of these early season matchups for the Big 12. So it'll be great to dive into those. It's Big 12 today, presented by Modelo. A lot to get to today, but on the way next, we're talking with the play-by-play voice of Texas Tech softball. Mark Finker joins us. We've got the College World Series starting, plus baseball regionals on the way. That's all coming up next. This is Big 12 today from the Big 12's spring meetings at the Omni PGA in Frisco. We are presented by Modelo, heard on TuneIn, and watched on Big 12 Studios.
With Stacy Sneed. Jackson's in trouble now. David Bailey, he is a sack machine. Third and 8.
Big 12 today, presented by Modelo, heard on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studios. I'm Ari Temkin. Great to have you with us today and every day here on your home for the Big 12, TuneIn and Big 12 Studios. We are coming to you from the Omni PGA Frisco at the spring meetings. But let's go out to Oklahoma City right now and preview the Women's College World Series with Mark Finkner, the play-by-play voice for Texas Tech softball, in advance of Texas Tech's Women's College World Series opener against Mississippi State. Mark, how are you?
Man, we're great this morning. How are you guys?
Doing well. So how do you come back down to earth after the emotional high of that Florida Super Regional if you're Texas Tech softball?
Well, hey, man, you just kind of get used to it. I mean, this is kind of like 2 weekends in a row. You think back to the Ole Miss 8-0 comeback in the Saturday game when you're down to your final strike 2 times and down to your final out and get all the 8 runs and then get into extras and win it. And so, yeah, I mean, it's just, it's just another day at the office for this team. No, but in all seriousness, it has been a great run. And I mean, it does show how it gets amped up in the postseason, no question, in the way that this team has responded. Thought they had opportunities even in game 2 against Florida, just weren't able to convert, and it kind of got away from you at the end. But this is a team that, they say they were built for this. Now they're here, and now we hope that you get to take that next step from what you did a year ago and end up hoisting the trophy here a week from Thursday or Friday.
Yeah, I mean, so they get Mississippi State to start. This is a pleasant surprise because you kind of figured Oklahoma would be here because Oklahoma's always there. So
Correct.
How dangerous is Mississippi State, and what I guess is the biggest issue that they present?
Well, when you look at them, in fact, I visited with Coach Glasgow already this morning about it a little bit, that, when you look at Mississippi State, it starts in the circle for them because they've got 3 legitimate arms, Alyssa Faircloth, Paige Gold, and Delaney Everett, who Tech actually saw last year in the regional when Mississippi State came to Lubbock a year ago. They played 3 times. Mississippi State won a 3-1 game that was scoreless going to the 8th last year in Clearwater. Then Tech beat Mississippi State twice in the regional in Lubbock last year. So there's some familiarity. I mean, obviously teams change from year to year, especially with the portal and all that now. But there is a familiarity there. But it does start in the circle for them. But you can't underestimate the fact that they can hit the ball too, although their average has not been as good as most of the other teams here. But when you put up 11 in game 1 against Oklahoma, including 9 in the last 2 innings, and then Delaney Everett throws a shutout in game 3, winning 6-0. They can swing it. But I do think Tech's pitching is going to be more than up for the task today, and not seen the card yet, so I don't know if Tech is starting Nyjah Kennedy or Caitlin Terry today, or if we see like we saw in game 3 where they just throw back and forth. So we may see some of that too, depending on matchups and that sort of thing today.
Yeah, and I was wondering, like, kind of your opinion or thoughts on that. If you're Jerry Glasgow, do you go with Caitlin today and try to save Nyjah for a potential Texas matchup?
You get to this point, I don't know how much saving you're doing there. But when you look at that, I think you do look at matchups a little bit, and as far as how they hit. Mississippi State, not a great hitting team like Tech and some others that are here, but you start looking at some of the splits. Okay, are they more left-handed heavy? Are they more right? Are they left-handed slappy hitters? Are they left-handed power? Are they right-handed power? I mean, those are some things that obviously that this coaching staff will look at as they try to formulate the best lineup that they can put, and who you put in the flex, and who you put as your designated player, and kind of have some moving parts around today. So I think there's a lot of that goes on. Some weekends I would say yes, you might try to save a pitcher for a certain game, but I don't think that's the case here. I think it's strictly which one gives you the best chance, or do both give you the best chance to win today.
Has Nyjah been as dominant this year as she was last year?
Yes and no. I mean, three no hitters in a perfect game. that's pretty doggone good.
You like those kind of things.
But but you look in the postseason, and there's been some of that talk too that she and Caitlin Terry have given up, a few more runs than they have throughout the course of the season. Part of that is obviously, you're playing better competition. Some of that is, hey, you just make a mistake. Sometimes that you get an unlucky break. There's a lot of things that have kind of factored in to the ERAs a little bit here so far in the postseason for them. But I tell you, they're the number one duo in winning with 49 wins between the two of them coming into the World Series. So I tell you what, you ride the horses that brung you, and I would not want to be a team trying to beat Tech because Coach Glasgow's talked about it a little bit, and I've even mentioned it. I mean, you look in the course of 64 games, they've not been beaten back-to-back games this year. I mean, they've always responded. They did it again on Sunday against Gainesville, against Florida, and just continue to just pound the ball against them. So this is a team that offense is really good, pitching is really good. But again, you can always get to one of these situations where you could have a 2-1 type game, and maybe something doesn't go right, and suddenly you're trying to fight from the loser's side. So today's a big game, no question, because you definitely want to stay on that winner's side as long as possible.
Yeah, well said. We're talking Texas Tech softball here with Mark Finkner, the play-by-play voice of Texas Tech. The Red Raiders softball team kicks off the Women's College World Series Game 1 at noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central on ESPN. It's Tech and Mississippi State. The Game 2 would be Texas and Tennessee, number 1 versus number 2 at 2:30 Central, 1:30 Central, 2:30 Eastern time. This field, Mark, features what feels like the best top-line pitchers we've seen in a field like this. And that any team that makes the Women's College World Series is going to have good pitching. But with Jordy Fromm, obviously we're familiar with her from her time at Oklahoma in the Big 12 as Jordy Ball.
Mm-hmm.
Nyjah, we know obviously a ton about. Caitlin, Carlin Pickens from Tennessee. We know about Tegan Kavan. I mean, is this as good of top-line pitchers in the field as you've ever seen?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's a great point. You start looking at, I mean, obviously with Alabama, Jocelyn Brisky. I mean, so you start, and at UCLA with Tinsley. So yes, I mean, there's some absolute studs going in the circle here. To that point, I mean, you could say that. I think legitimately, there's probably 8 to 10 pitchers that are definitely truly elite pitchers here in Oklahoma City. So I think you've got to be able, and that's where, especially with softball only being 7 innings, you've really got to take advantage when one's not doing well. If you get a couple of walks or you give up a hit there, okay, well, Florida's not here, so Mia Williams won't get hit today. But anyway, you start looking at some of that, and you've got to find those little opportunities because to the point we're talking about, it's not going to be a bunch of 16-7 here. It's going to be more like 2-1, 3-1, 4-1 type games. I feel because of what you're saying, because of all the elite arms that we're going to see in the circle.
Obviously Texas Tech is much more talented than last year's team. I mean, that's obvious, especially from an arm standpoint. I mean, do you have a sense here of like they're playing as good a softball right now? And do you want to see Texas? Do you want to see a Texas Tech championship matchup? I don't want to look too far ahead, but is that what you're hoping for?
Well, I mean, obviously being in the same side of the bracket, what would have to happen there would be, let's say Tech and Texas win in the first round and they play in the second round and Tech wins. The loser of that 1-0 game drops to the other side of the bracket. And vice versa, the one in the bottom bracket, the 1-0 loser will go into your bracket. So there is that flip over there, so where you're not facing the same 3 teams, you could be facing somebody like an Alabama, Nebraska, somebody like that coming over to the other side. To me, guys, I mean, when you start looking at this, it's heavy SEC. So for that reason, I would like Nebraska versus Texas Tech at the end. Thank you.
Yeah, and especially, again, given the history of Jordy Fromm, who was at Oklahoma as Jordy Ball, that would be a really interesting matchup, no doubt about it.
No doubt. If you got to that point, in Tech and Nebraska obviously played once very early in the year down in Clearwater. Tech's first loss, a 3-2 game that, again, you had one kind of shaky inning there. They scored 3. Here 3 weeks ago with the Big 12 championship against Arizona State, you have one kind of shaky inning, and that's it. So, I mean, again, you have to take advantage of those opportunities when they're given to you, because you may not get more than 1 or 2 over the course of 7 innings. Again, going back to that pitching being as good, both yours and the ones that you're going to be facing.
Does Tech embrace being the villains?
That's an interesting question. I don't know I don't know if that's the right word. I mean, it could be. I mean, considering the way that it ended against Florida last Sunday.
Well, let me ask it a different way, Mark. I'm not calling them villains, but they've been labeled that way.
Hey, you're not the first person to ask me that this morning, so I get it.
And I love it. I love it. Yeah, make them. I mean, every other program gets to spend money on their athletics, and it's fine. And Tech does it in a sport that I guess a lot of people are doing it, and suddenly it's not fine. But it's just rich.
Exactly.
Like the Florida Gators are complaining about spending money on athletes. Like, are you kidding me? Like, are you serious?
Right. I mean, anybody from that particular league, go shove it. I mean, the fact is, you're
Look
doing
in the mirror.
what you want to do within the rules and within within whatever budgetary means you have. And if you don't have those means, well, that's not Texas Tech's fault.
Yeah, well said. No, totally.
Not.
Well, and again, nobody complains when Texas spends a bunch of money on sports, or Florida,
right, or Ohio State, or Michigan, exactly. Those blue bloods, right? But yeah, it's different when Texas Tech does it. And one of the things, since we are talking Big 12, I do want to give a shout out to the other teams that made the super regionals. Arizona State, who really had Texas on the ropes.
Yes.
UCF and Oklahoma State. This league was underrated all year long. They got 7 into the NCAAs, and all of them, but one got to a regional final 2 weekends ago. So I think that shows that this league, in my opinion, was the second best overall league in the country, and to me may have been the best top to bottom.
Yeah, well said. Mark Finkner will be on the call for Texas Tech at the Women's College World Series starting this morning. Should be a lot of fun. Hopefully it's a long, extended trip for you, Mark.
I hope so. I hope I'm here a full week plus, man. Of course, you can always tune us in on the Varsity app and sync us up, and we would enjoy having you aboard.
Yes, absolutely. I will be doing that for sure. Mark Finkner, the play-by-play voice for Texas Tech softball, joining us here at the start of the Women's College World Series. Again, game 1, 11 a.m. Central. You can catch the TV broadcast on ESPN, and as Mark said, catch the play-by-play as well. It's Tech and Mississippi State, and then game 2 is Texas and Tennessee. Those 2 games form one half of the bracket. The winners meet in the winners bracket. The losers meet in an elimination game. The other half is Bama and UCLA and Nebraska and Arkansas. And again, you're talking about some of the best top-line pitchers maybe we've ever seen in one field here, with Jordy Fromm at Nebraska, who's put up 11 career, was everything as a freshman at Oklahoma, transferred back home at Nebraska, and has done it all at Nebraska. There's Nyjah from Tech. Carlin Pickett's maybe the best pitcher in the field from Tennessee. And then Texas is Tegan Cavan, who's pitched in huge matchups and helped Texas win the College World Series last year. And all 3 of those, Pickens, Fromm, and Kennedy, rank in the top 15 nationally in ERA. But I mean, the story of Mississippi State is remarkable. Again, I mean, Oklahoma has made the College World Series every single year since 2011, with the exception of 2020, which was a COVID year. Right, so there wasn't a Women's College World Series. So Mississippi State going into Norman and beating them in the Super Regional is a remarkable story. And Faircloth, 261 strikeouts, which set a Mississippi State program record. Only 3 other pitchers in the nation ahead of her with strikeouts. So she's 16-7, 2.28 ERA, 169 innings pitched, and was the SEC Newcomer of the Year from Troy. transfers in, becomes the best pitcher in the one of the best pitchers in the SEC this year. So Texas Tech and Mississippi State should be a good one to start things in the Women's College World Series. And then that is followed again by Texas and Tennessee. We've also got regionals this weekend, baseball regionals. 6 Big 12 teams are in, 2 are hosting. And so we'll do a deep dive breakdown of those series on the way. This is Big 12 Today, presented by Modelo, heard on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studios.
Just shy of the 45. Here's Greenwood to the perimeter with a first down. And into TCU territory, hit by Canada.
Comes out with the zone option here coming off. You see him holding the football there because he can throw the football. If Love makes a block there. So
he's come back this year, had to earn the job in fall camp, did so, and he's been great. This quick hitter from Wilson, and an immediate tackle in the open field. DeJon Stanley with the catch, but stopped well short. Wilson going to check down to the left. It's 1-on-2. A little hesitation move, and then Bernard gets shoved out of bounds.
Plays in the block here. Morton pass. The out route complete, but short of the first down yardage. Ismailova floating into the end zone.
It's Big 12 Radio on TuneIn. I am Ari Temkin on social at Ari Sports. Damon Turner producing today's show with us from the spring meetings for the Big 12 here at the Omni PGA in Frisco. We are 20 minutes away from football coaches heading into the ballroom in order to start their meetings, and there will be a lot discussed, certainly. Look back on the successes of the 2025 season and a look ahead to 2026, 2027, on how to improve it even more. We've got plenty more to come on the Women's College World Series in softball with Texas Tech set to start things off today. And then, of course, the baseball regionals, which start tomorrow, too, being hosted by Big 12 teams. Though I would say, to sort of summarize maybe the top line first couple of days of the spring meetings, it's about more games, more conference games. We talked yesterday about the fact that the Big 12 is socializing, maybe returning to 20 Big 12 games in basketball. Chris Vanini from The Athletic reported yesterday from Your Mark that he's going to be talking to coaches about 10 league games moving forward if there is a 24-team field. As Kenny Dillingham walks by us. What's up, Dilly? How are you? Good to see you. Good to see you. And so, one of the things clearly is we talked with Your Mark a couple of weeks ago. Everything's about positioning for the 2030 TV rights. And this may not come as, boring sort of news or discussions, right? It's not exactly the most compelling stuff. It's not exactly the games that we love, right? But it is, to me, what everything is setting up for, right? So when Your Mark is socializing the potential for extra league games in basketball and football, this is all part of the total plan, the totality of the plan of what they're going to try to head to negotiations with. And I mean, Your Mark told us he's in the relationship building stage right now. So he's, we know about the Redbird deal and their connection to Paramount and ownership stake in Paramount and Warner Brothers Discovery and that merger. We obviously know about the established relationships the Big 12 has with certain outlets currently, media partners now. But he's building relationships with all of them to try to bring as many bidders to the table. And then the second part to that is not just the relationship building and bringing as many bidders as you can to the table. It's maximizing the product itself and what's the best way to generate the most value that helps far exceed what the previous deal was. And so that's, to me, the crux of these discussions about more games, more here at the spring meetings, more Big 12 basketball games potentially in 27, 28, more Big 12 football games potentially, let's say in 27, 28. Again, especially if an expanded 24-team field happens, which feels like at least most leagues are starting to look into. And then, of course, as we discussed, like putting pen to paper, figuring out, from a revenue standpoint, what that looks like and how much 10 league games would mean to the bottom line. Again, I think just the flat 10 league games would not be as attractive as open, leaving the final 2 games of the regular season open and having some sort of a tournament with maybe the top 4 seeds where 1 plays 4 and 2 plays 3, and then the winners meet the final week of the regular season for a de facto Big 12 championship game. And then the third place teams play for a resume boost. And then you have other games as well. I mean, it's the final 2 weeks are open. It's just the top 4 teams are playing in a tournament. I think, to me, if you're going to play 10 league games, the way to do it would be to add, stakes to it. And then on top of that, like you're basically, you're basically guaranteeing you're going to get the key matchups at the end of the season that are going to be resume boosts for those teams anyways. So for me, that's the best idea of potentially going to 10 league games. We'll see how that is socialized amongst the football coaches during today's spring meetings. All right. Also today is the Women's College World Series, Texas Tech, the villains of college softball. They're, I guess, one of the only programs spending from an NIL standpoint in softball. And so that has ruffled feathers, which is just rich, again, coming from the majority of SEC teams and SEC programs that are constantly outspending everybody else, especially the Big 12 and basically every other sport. Would love to see let's just say in one of the regionals in baseball, one of the SEC teams had players get repeatedly beamed because they're earning more money in NIL than Big 12 teams, which is essentially what happened with Mia Williams in the Florida Super Regional in softball. But here's what Nigel Kennedy said about the villain label that's been assigned to the Red Raiders.
Everyone talks about like wanting to grow softball too, and wanting more eyes on softball, wanting people to watch softball, and wanting just female sports to be as big as like male sports. And at the end of the day, like transfers happen in male and female sports. So if you want the game to grow, like there's this stuff kind of comes with it.
Yeah, I would take it even further with what Nigel said, because I think she set it up perfectly, and that is like, if we're villains, cool, that's going to draw a larger audience. So we'll happily play into that. And I think that's a huge part of this, right? Like what's happening right now with the SEC spring meetings is sort of funny from the standpoint of you just have like coaches taking the podium and it's all like WWE. Like, you've got Stark is lobbing, an insult at other programs. They're responding. I mean, Pete Golding is taking on bullets from Dabo Sweeney and Sarkisian. Like it's amazing WWE type drama with the SEC. And that drives an audience, right? Like when Ole Miss, some of their games against LSU or Texas this year, I don't have it in front of me if they play, like those are going to be hugely compelling because of the way in which they've been labeled and the villain sort of role. It's the same with Texas Tech softball. Like more people are going to tune in to the Women's College World Series to watch them lose because they want to than would tune in if they weren't labeled that way. Here's what Caitlin Terry, who is one of the villains who transferred into Texas Tech this past offseason, here's what Caitlin Terry said about that label.
Looking at us as like villains, it's just like something that we figured, or I also figured walking into Texas Tech, but it's also, that doesn't define us. Like the way we play or what does happen, like we're all playing softball at the end of the day. It doesn't matter what team you're on or anything that happens outside of that. I just think that as long as we play the game, we're fine.
Yeah. Well said. And again, couldn't agree more. And I like, if I'm Tech, lean into it. Why not? Call out the hypocrisy of the whole deal of here are programs with far more money just overall in their athletic departments that are complaining about this, that are upset about this. Really? Look in the mirror. Come on. Here's what Jerry Glasgow said.
We're doing things that maybe never been done before, or at least not been done in a similar fashion. And it's confusing. But for us on the field, like just every day, and we just work every day. We work really hard, and I'm enjoying every moment. And if softball needs me to be the villain, I'm all about it. Let's go. It's fun. And I embrace that role. Like, that's fun.
Jerry Glasgow knows exactly what he's talking about. So that's Texas Tech's head softball coach, Jerry Glasgow, with the Women's College World Series starting today in Oklahoma City. Texas Tech trying to get back to the Champ Series. They lost to Texas last year and hoping to get back there. Game 1, Texas Tech, Mississippi State today at 11 a.m. Central, noon Eastern time on ESPN2. All right, starting tomorrow will be the baseball regionals, 6 regionals featuring Big 12 teams. And let's just kind of go through each of these and hit some of the high points. The highest seeded Big 12 team is the Big 12 champ on both the regular season and tournament championship, and that's the Kansas Jayhawks hosting the Lawrence Regional. It's the first conference championship since 1949 and the first time ever for KU to be hosting a regional, as both Willie Fritz and Rich Rod make their way in, as all the football coaches are coming down the stairs, heading into the Ryder Cup ballroom for the start of the Big 12 football spring meetings. All right, so with Kansas, it's Kansas, Arkansas, Missouri State, and Northeastern. With Kansas, we know about what they do well. It's a power hitting team with 5 players with double-digit home runs. Tyson LeBlanc with 21, Josh Dykoff, Augusto with 15 each, Tyson Owens with 14, and then Jordan Bach has 7. And here is what Travis Goff, the athletic director of KU, said about the Lawrence Regional.
We've had some special moments in Outfield House that's been well documented. We've had some incredible moments of recent years. You think about ESPN Game Day, Fox Big Noon on the Hill, at the Old Memorial, and we've had obviously a great season under our belt at the new booth. I think this thing this weekend will rival any sporting event that's happened here in Lawrence at the University of Kansas.
That's a big statement right there, and hard to disagree. KU, they hit a lot of home runs, but they give up a lot of home runs, as we saw in that Baylor Big 12 tournament game. Like a 7-1 lead can escape quickly. So that's one of their major potential flaws here would be their pitching giving up a ton of home runs. As Kansas head football coach Lance Leipold makes his way along with Gene Taylor. Friends. Gene, the K-State athletic director, of course, walking with Lance Leipold, the Kansas football coach. Kansas looking for their first win against KU or Kansas State, 17 tries. But Arkansas in the Kansas regional probably has the best player in the regional in Ryder Helfrich, catcher, and they may even have the best pitcher in this regional, Ethan McElvain. So, I mean, look, Kansas got hosed. They got a really tough draw, but there are only good teams left, especially when you look at the 1s and the 2 seeds in each regional. We'll just see if the depth of Kansas can kind of wear down the top line players for Arkansas. I also think like Missouri State is a pretty good 3 seed, so that Missouri State Arkansas game will be huge when it comes to that KU regional. All right, the Morgantown regional, West Virginia. They're also the second Big 12 team hosting West Virginia, Wake Forest, Kentucky, and Binghamton. And West Virginia. As much as we talk about, Kansas's power and their ability to hit the ball out of the ballpark, West Virginia's strength is their pitching, and a big reason why West Virginia went into Lawrence and swept KU at the end of the regular season. Max Yale, he's been phenomenal this year. He's 7th nationally in ERA. Ian Korn is top 30 at 2.57, and they have a team ERA at 3.82. And they play great defense. They did not in that Big 12 championship game against Kansas, but beyond that, they pitch and they play great defense. And so, the matchup for me with West Virginia and Wake Forest in a potential regional championship is about the Demon Deacons' great offense against West Virginia's great pitching and defense. So that'll be huge. Here's what Steve Sabins said about this regional in Morgantown.
To be able to go to 4 consecutive regionals is certainly special, and mixing a hosting situation for the community and the state, there's nothing better. Like the people of this state are passionate about the program, they're passionate about WVU, and so to be able to bring an event like this here is meaningful to me, and I'm just really proud of the staff and the players and my family, everybody that's going to get to experience high-level college baseball. There'll be great opponents. The atmosphere in Morgantown is really hard to beat. I know that tickets will be extremely hard to come by, and we will pack as many people in that place as the fire marshal allows.
This matchup in this regional will come down to West Virginia's pitching and Wake Forest's explosive lineup. Gavin Kelly, the stud, presumptive number 1 pick in next year's draft for West Virginia, he's the X factor. If he has a big series, he can really shake this thing up and help West Virginia get to the super regionals. They would take on number 1 UCLA, and then you'd see a situation in which you've got the potential to have back-to-back number 1 picks going up against each other with, Rock Chalowski, the presumptive number 1 pick in the upcoming draft out of UCLA, and Gavin Kelly, the presumptive number 1 pick in the 2027 Major League Baseball draft. All right, Oklahoma State is traveling out to Tuscaloosa in the Tuscaloosa regional that features West Virginia, that features Oklahoma State and Alabama, among others. Alabama has a great rotation. Tyler Fay at the top. He pitched a no-hitter against Florida. It was the first no-no for Bama since 1942. Fay had 13 strikeouts and only threw 85 pitches in that no-hitter he threw against Bama. So, that is where Alabama is very good, or that he threw against Florida, I should say. And on the other side, this is kind of a similar dynamic with West Virginia and Wake Forest. You've got great pitching against great hitting. Bama's got the great pitching. The Cowboys have, the most explosive offense in this regional. Brigham in, obviously the experience that he brings, I think will be a huge X factor in the series. The Cowboys offense needs to show up, though, because their pitching will not be enough to save them. They've just got to get after it, be explosive, and, basically take advantage of, bad pitching. So that's going to be key for them in that series, in that regional. All right, UCF is the 2 seed of the Auburn regional. This is going to be a tough. Auburn could have been a 1 or a 2 seed, quite frankly, overall. And NC State as an opening matchup for UCF is not going to be easy. This, for me, is the toughest regional for a Big 12 team. Jackson Sanders for Auburn, he's lights out in the bullpen. And it's one of the most underrated aspects of winning playoff baseball is a strong bullpen. And I'd say Auburn has the best in the field. And then, Jake Marciano is their top line starting pitcher. He's going to pitch the Friday game, which is, I would think, good news for UCF because if they're able to get past NC State in game one, Alex Petrovich, who's also very good, but their second pitcher. He's 8-2 in the season and is 6-1 for Auburn in rubber matches this season. So he's the type of guy that they throw up there when they need a win at the end of each of their series. UCF, their bullpen collapsed against Oklahoma State in the Big 12 tournament. So hopefully they've got that shored up because they've got a good lineup. They've got decent pitching. It's just their bullpen that worries me, and that's going to be a tough one. I think the winner of this UCF-NC State game to start will most likely face Auburn in that regional championship game. Cincinnati is the 2 seed in the Starkville regional. Mississippi State is really good. Ace Reese drives the Mississippi State offense. Jacob Parker had 13 home runs, 51 driven in. Noah Sullivan, Reed Stallman. This is a team that is power, quality hitting up and down the lineup. But look, Cincinnati is battle tested. They had beat Auburn this year. They took 2 of 3 from West Virginia. They have wins over Kansas. So, and they have arguably the best pitcher in this regional in Quentin Coates. So, I think Cincinnati also has a very underrated opening game against Louisiana. Probably the most underrated tough opponent for any Big 12 team in the regional. They're Sun Belt qualifier with 39 wins and tournament experience. It's a very good team. Do not overlook Louisiana when it comes to the Starkville regional. All right, working our way down. Arizona State will be the final one to talk about. Arizona State is the 3 seed in the Lincoln regional. Nebraska 42-15 overall. They went 23-7 at home, and it's the first time hosting a regional since 2008. They have a very good rotation. The one part of Nebraska that's worrisome if you're a Cornhusker fan is their bullpen. We talked about the importance of having good arms in your bullpen. Nebraska's bullpen's not great. So that's, I think, where Nebraska might be able to be beat if you get deep into their pen. The best player in this regional is Arizona State's Landon Hairston. Broke the single season program record with 28 home runs. And but their opening game against Ole Miss is easily the hardest opening game matchup for any Big 12 team in the field. Ole Miss could be a 1 seed and be hosting a regional themselves. So that is probably the toughest region. And here is what Landon Hairston said about the Nebraska regional.
I think good. I think no matter where they put us, I think our offense stacks up good. We got all the talent in the world to show for it. So, yeah, we're looking forward to it.
All right, there's Landon Hairston, the power hitting player for Arizona State. That regional again, the Lincoln regional, Nebraska, Ole Miss, Arizona State, and South Dakota State. So Ole Miss, Arizona State to open is going to be tough, and then Nebraska will be even tougher. So we'll see. 6 teams enter. How many will be alive week 2 for the Supers? All those regionals start tomorrow. It's Big 12 today from the spring meetings here at the Omni PGA in Frisco as the football coaches are filing into meetings, which are going to be starting momentarily to talk through many things going on. On the way next, though, our Road to Arlington series continues. We're taking a deep dive into Cincinnati football. Scott Satterfield's team won 7 games last year, but started 7-1. So they're looking for a win in November for the first time since 2023. We do a deep dive on Cincinnati football next. This is Big 12 today. The Road to Arlington continues next. We are presented by Modelo, heard on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studios.
That was going to remain on the sideline today. That one looks laminated. Look out here. Howland flung for a huge loss. We know he can spin it, but so do Dalton Johnson and the Cats.
Tonight getting his first career carries. Ball is loose. A lucky bounce for Bachmeier. Can he make the most of
to his hands. And Johnson on the recovery. Johnny on the spot.
Lyman being able to swing it that well. Look at this second level blitz, and the Cats get hands on it again. Dalton Johnson part of that wave. Back-to-back pass breakups.
Out of the shotgun. Jailbreak pressure. It's picked off. And it will be a pick 6 for Dalton Johnson. Wow, they got him at the 5. That was great defensive work. Wow, I thought no way they're going to catch up.
3rd and 22. Couple guys drop out. Sorsby in trouble. Gets it away complete. And he's wrestled out of bounds. Manny Puppy.
Twelve today with Ari and James, Monday through Friday, 8 to 11 a Eastern Time. Your home for all things Big 12.
This is Big 12 Radio, Big 12 Today, heard on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studios. Make sure to download the TuneIn app and follow along there. Just search Big 12 and heart the channel. That way it shows up each and every time you open up the app. Also, follow along on Big 12 Studios. Go to big12studios.com to find all the platforms in which you can stream Big 12 Studios, all the great Big 12 content, including Big 12 Today, weekday mornings from 8 to 11 Eastern, 7 to 10 Central. Tubi, Roku, Amazon Prime Video, DirecTV Stream, Samsung TV Plus, YouTube, big12studios.com to find all the platforms. I think I've memorized some of them, but not all of them. So probably leaving some out. Adam Lewis is laughing at me from Big 12 Studios. Shout out to Adam Lewis, who does an amazing job with Big 12 Studios as a part of Big 12 Today. We know about Anthony. We always give Anthony the love, but we never give Adam Lewis any love. So there you go, Adam. You have to be in person for us to give you some love. All right, it is time now to do our deep dive on Cincinnati. This is the Road to Arlington series. We are working our way up from last year's standing 16-1, and we've landed on the Cincinnati Bearcats football team. This is where we answer a bevy of questions on each and every Big 12 football team in advance of the season. We've done a host of series throughout the offseason to keep the season alive because football season never sleeps. Remember, there is no off in off-season. There is only research. All right, so let's start with Cincinnati Bearcats, the biggest question mark. And I'm assuming James and I will have the same one or similar. I've got two. The first is the quarterback. J.C. French. He threw for 2,900 yards for Georgia Southern last season. But that's Georgia Southern. Extremely unproven at this level. Had 20 touchdowns against 8 picks. Posted a 58.1 overall ESPN QBR, which was 78th nationally at Georgia Southern. So this is a major question mark here for Scott Satterfield and Cincinnati. You're going from a explosive playmaking quarterback to more of a game manager. And I say that with, in the best possible way. Because I think that Cincinnati has some things that can work for them by having more of a game manager quarterback. The other one, before we get to James's answer here, is the secondary. Cincinnati was 107th out of 136 FBS teams in stop rate last season at 54.1%. They also only had 2 interceptions total. They didn't have a player with 2 interceptions. They had 2 total interceptions all of last season. So, huge question mark, the back end of their defense, which was really bad last year, and probably the most underrated reason for why Cincinnati collapsed at the end of the regular season last year. So, huge question mark, their secondary.
James is very similar. His biggest question mark was life after Brendan Sorsby. Sorsby led Cincinnati to a 7-1 start, climbed to the number 17 in the AP poll. ESPN ranked Sorsby him the number 1 player in the entire 2026 transfer portal. So how do the Bearcats move on from Brendan Sorsby? So that is a question mark, and that's the biggest question mark that James has.
Yeah, an obvious one. All right, biggest gamble. To me, it's the defensive shift. You go from rush 3, drop 8 to a more traditional 3-4 defense with Nate Woody. And look, for Satterfield, Woody's a guy that he's familiar with. He was his DC at App State. And, in order to help the back end of your defense, which obviously was a huge issue last year, you bring in a guy in Woody as your DC now who will be more aggressive in getting after the quarterback, which can help generate more turnovers. Army's defense under Nate Woody, 15th nationally in total defense, and then number 1 in 2020. So the track record at installing aggressive fronts is real. It's just been a while since he's done it. But he's got that blitz-heavy 3-4. It's just a dramatic shift from the personnel they have that they were running with that 3-3-5 under Tyson Veit. So to me, that's the gamble.
James has the biggest gamble as all new everything. Both coordinators are gone. So you have a new quarterback, new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator, new scheme, new roster. I mean, it's literally all new everything. It's a gamble when you go all new, but James thinks that, it's something that Cincinnati has to adapt to.
Yeah, agreed. That's a good one, sort of a catch-all. All right, trap game. For me, the trap game for Cincinnati is Miami of Ohio on September 19th. That's a neutral site game at Paycor Stadium, the home of the Cincinnati Bengals. The battle for the victory bell. UC's series record against Miami of Ohio is 61-60-7. So it is a deadlocked rivalry. Cincinnati won 27-16 in 2024. But if you remember, in Scott Satterfield's first year in 2023, Miami of Ohio upset Cincinnati. They did not play last year, but I just think based on the fact that Cincinnati gets right into the deep end of the pool of their conference schedule immediately following this game, you go from your third non-conference game, Miami of Ohio, to K-State, at Arizona, at West Virginia, Texas Tech. They have a brutal Big 12 schedule. For me, the trap game is Miami of Ohio, even though it's a rivalry game, because you get right into the meat of your conference schedule immediately starting the next weekend. So The trap game for me is Miami of Ohio.
The trap game for James is at West Virginia on October 17th. And the reasons behind it for James
That's a good one.
Cincinnati hosts Texas Tech on October 24th. I wonder what's happening in that game. And then on top of that, a loss at West Virginia, then you have to face Sorsby, then you have to face Utah in a season that potentially maybe looked promising coming out of that. Looks like a tough stretch going into November, which for Cincinnati, trouble.
Yeah, I think their biggest game is Texas Tech. Sorry, that wasn't. He was saying trap game. The Cincinnati biggest game is Texas Tech, October 24th, Nippert Stadium. It's the 100th homecoming for Cincinnati, and of course, it's the Brendan Sorsby homecoming. When I think Sorsby will be eligible to play this year. I think the courts will decide that, and that he'll play. If they do, the NCAA realizes that the injunction is going to stand, and they're forced to settle. Maybe there's a reduced suspension, and if that's the case, then there's a potential for him to come back for this game, which would even add more to it. But look, I mean, yeah, most teams that have Texas Tech on their schedule, the Texas Tech game will be the biggest game. But obviously for Cincinnati, it's even bigger because of the Sorsby saga part to this. So, yeah. And then, there's rumors that maybe it was Cincinnati that tipped off the NCAA to the wagering, the gambling piece. So just a lot to that game. It's clearly the biggest game, and I'd be shocked if it wasn't James's as well.
Be shocked. The biggest game is Utah again on October 31st. He says that.
What is James smoking?
I don't know.
I saw the biggest game of the Big 12 season, arguably.
Yeah. Let's give his reasons behind it. It's the first time Utah's come to Nippert Stadium. Utah beat Cincinnati 45-14 in 2025, and what was supposed to be Cincinnati's "quote unquote" "we've arrived" game. And he is saying that if Cincinnati wins, this is the Bearcats. The Bearcats have a signature victory. They lose it, they're right back outside where the world expects them to be. I'm not saying the points aren't valid, but I don't think it's the biggest game, personally.
Yeah. I don't know if he just didn't see the Texas Tech game, or if he doesn't know who Brendan Sorsby is, or what.
Who's that?
I can make fun of James when he's not here to defend himself. It's great. All right, the 3-game swing stretch. This is the toughest one for me because they have a brutal schedule. But for me, it's the 3 games that they have at Houston on November 7th, at Iowa State on November 14th, and versus Colorado on November 21st. And the reason for that is because the previous stretch, Texas Tech, Utah, West Virginia, I mean, it'll be tough to win a game there, and if you do, you'll go 1-2. I mean, I look at that previous stretch. So it starts at West Virginia, Texas Tech, Utah, at Houston. So the Texas Tech, Utah, Houston 3-game stretch, they'd be lucky to win a game there. They're probably going to go 0-3, which means the next 2 games, Iowa State and Colorado, are sort of must-wins for a team to be a bowl team. I'm not sure that Cincinnati's going to be a bowl team, but if they are, they got to win those 2 games at Iowa State and Colorado. That's the reason I chose that 3-game stretch, because you're probably going to be coming off of a 3-game stretch. You've lost 3 straight against 3 of the best preseason projected teams in the Big 12, including Texas Tech, Utah, and Houston. If you're able to surprise Houston and you can go 3-0 that stretch, you're definitely a bowl team to me. But you get Iowa State and Ames in mid-November. That's one of the most difficult road trips, in what is usually snowy weather. And by the way, this will come up a lot moving forward. Cincinnati has lost 10 straight games in November. And they've lost 11 of 12 games in November. Their last November win came in 2023. This will come up again. I promise you that. And then they have Colorado at home in Week 13, which will also be a dogfight. So if Cincinnati goes 2-1 in that stretch, Houston, Iowa State, and Colorado, they're going to be a bowl team. If they go 0-3, I'm not so sure Satterfield is able to survive into next season.
All right, so James's 3-game stretch that defines the season is at Houston on November the 7th, at Iowa State November the 14th, Colorado November 21st, and his reasons are
so it's the same exact 3-game stretch.
Right. He believes that Scott Satterfield needs 2 out of 3 wins. Vegas, Cincinnati's win total at 5.5. CBS Sports projects them at 5 to 7. He says that Cincinnati, if they go 2-1 in the stretch, Cincinnati has a chance to win 7 to 8 games and get Satterfield to year 5. If they go 0-3, this team isn't going anywhere near a bowl.
Yeah, I totally agree. The one player they can't lose, this is another difficult one, but I went with left tackle Joe Cotton. He's the best player on the team. He's the anchor on the offensive line. And offensive line is the most obvious strength for this team. So if Cincinnati is able to have any success on offense, it'll be because of the offensive line. And Cotton, to me, is the most replaceable guy on that offensive line. You've got a first-year Big 12 starter and J.C. French, who wasn't great at Georgia Southern, but was more of a game manager. He's never faced the pass rushing players that he's going to see at this level. Cotton's left tackle. He's the blindside protector. Like, what more do you need to know? So, I mean, a Cotton injury to me, like, you're looking at a 3-win season potentially. Sorsby took 17 sacks in both 2023 and 2024. So, yeah, and look, Cincinnati's had very good offensive lines as long as Satterfield's been there, and surprising they have one more given how good their offensive lines have been, and this year will be no different. So, but I think even given how good they are along the offensive line, I question their depth. Joe Cotton was arguably the best left tackle, was one of the top left tackles in the Big 12 last year. He wasn't arguably the best, but he was certainly one of the top left tackles in the Big 12 last year. He will be the presumptive top guy at that position heading into the season. They cannot lose him. He's irreplaceable.
James has Evan Tengestal, the left guard. He says that ESPN named Tengestal a way too early 2026 first-team All-American, the only Bearcat on the list. Pro Football Focus overall grade of 85.4. Cincinnati is breaking in a new quarterback, new OC, new DC. And, we mentioned all that and how kind of like to your point, the O-line is strong but needs to stay intact. He actually has Joe Cotton as a close second. But without him, he said J.C. French gets pressured into mistakes before he ever gets comfortable in the Big 12. Tengestal doesn't just protect the offense. He is the offense's identity right now.
All right, so I worked a little bit ahead because I was supposed to start with the one player they can't lose in the next segment on the road to Arlington. So I got a little ahead of myself. But here is what Scott Satterfield said post-spring on building a team-first culture in today's era of college football, especially given that, there's so much turnover on Cincinnati's roster.
Everything that we do has got to be for the team, I think, which is counterproductive in this day and age of sports. It's all about the everybody thinks about how can I get mine? Well, the best way for you to get yours is to care about your team more, which is a different way of thinking. And particularly in football, we got 11 guys on the field, on offense, defense, and kicking at any one time. If your teammates don't play for you, you're not going to be able to be good. Sure. And the other thing is, if you're not winning games, you're not going to get any accolades. If you're winning games, you're going to get a lot of accolades. You're going to have a lot of conference. People are going to be looking at you. The scouts are going to be on you. All the different things are going to happen for you individually. So that's all we're focused on as the team. And everything that we do, every decision that you make on and off the field, think about the team first. That'll be our primary goal as we head to the fall, and then take it one at a time and see where that's going to get us. I think if you can play together as a team, no matter what your talent level is, I think Indiana is an indication of that, that you can go out and win a lot of football games.
All right, there's Scott Satterfield in our Road to Arlington series featured on Cincinnati. We continue. Take a look at the hidden strength, the number, the pressure point, what success actually looks like, why they will and why they won't win the Big 12 next as the Road to Arlington series continues. I'm Ari Temkin. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. We are presented by Modelo, heard on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studios.
Always said to commit to a school
an option pitch around the edge. Cyrus Allen is in. Touchdown, Cincinnati. Joe Porter back onto the field, top of your screen. Pressure comes. Cyrus Allen out of the backfield with his third touchdown. This offense has been unstoppable. Sorsby has 55 of the 130 rushing yards. Fires to the end zone. This time to Allen. Touchdown, Bearcats.
Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio. We are presented by Modelo. Heard on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studios. Continuing our Road to Arlington series, deep dive look at each and every Big 12 football team. And today we're focused on the Cincinnati Bearcats football team. We've already been through the biggest question mark, the biggest gamble, the trap game, biggest game, 3-game swing stretch, and the one player they can't lose. Now let's get into the hidden strength. And, you know, for me, like, offensive line is not a hidden strength. It's just the strength. And it's easily their biggest strength heading into the season, which is a pretty good strength to have. To me, the hidden strength is special teams, which is sort of a secret weapon, if you ask me. mean, all three key special teams performers from 2025 are back, including punter Max Fletcher, who's second team All Big 12, long snapper Eli Stein, who earned PFF All Big 12 accolades, and then kicker Steve Rusnak, who was perfect on PATs and made his first 11 field goals until November, when everything goes kaput for Cincinnati, apparently. So, I mean, I think when you look at like the potential for Cincinnati to play close games, like their ability to win on special teams and then the margins is going to be huge. Think about going into tough environments, cold environments late in November, having a good punter, experienced punter, having a good kicker, experienced kicker to kick in those conditions is huge. So I think you can look at wide receiver as a potential hidden strength, but I just wanted to call out special teams for Cincinnati because they may have the best special teams grouping in the Big 12.
So James's biggest hidden strength is linebackers. Linebacker is one of only two position groups entering 2026 with genuine continuity. In a sea of 40 brand new faces, that stands out. Antoine Peak Jr., who posted the best safety grade in the entire Big 12 in 2025. He's moving to outside linebacker in Woody's new 3-4 system. He also brings up that Woody ran the top defense in the American Conference in both 2024 and 2025 at Army. His entire system is built around pressure-heavy linebacker play. So the biggest hidden strength that James Cincinnati will have will be linebacker.
Yeah, it's a good call. For me, the number is next, and the number is 2. Touched on this earlier, but Cincinnati generated just 2 interceptions the entire season in 2025. So to piggyback on what James was saying there on Nate Woody, like he was hired to fix this defense that ranked 107th out of 136 teams in stop rate, and had a nation low 2 interceptions. This program does not get to 10 wins without creating turnovers, and that's just not something they've done really the last 2 years. I'm not sure that they're going to get to double-digit wins this season. I just don't know that they have the personnel, the talent, or the continuity to do it. But they've got to be better at turning the football over, and they hired Woody to do that. Woody's supposed to generate pressure, and the reason they bring in Woody and want to generate the pressure and be more aggressive on defense is in order to generate and help out the back end of your defense. So for me, the number is 2, which was the amount of interceptions that Cincinnati generated last year, and they need a huge improvement in that number into the next season.
So James's number is 19. He starts off with J.C. French threw 19 touchdowns and 8 interceptions in 2025 at Georgia Southern with a 62% completion rate against Sun Belt competition. He says that needs to be the floor. The Big 12 is a different animal entirely. He goes back to Brendan Sorsby throwing 27 touchdowns and 5 picks compared to French's touchdown to interception ratio will be the single most telling indicator of whether this offense can replicate what Cincinnati had did last season. On top of that, and this is the last one, he said, watch for number 19 all season with conference top 3 rushers, to your point, already gone with 2 NFL wide receivers departing. Matching the touchdowns Sorsby accounted for will be tough, but with one of the top offensive lines in the league, French should have protection to let it rip.
Pressure point, sure we'll have the same one here, and that's the head coach, Scott Satterfield. Year 4, 3 years in, overlapping eras in terms of, Satterfield taking over a program that was joining the Big 12 and was pretty bare based on Luke Fickell bolting after an incredible run at Cincinnati. So last year was clearly the best showing that they had with him. But there's not a lot of optimism this year based on what they lost from last year's team. They lose Brendan Sorsby, we know. They lose Cyrus Allen, Jeff Caldwell, Joe Royer, Dante Corleone, Tywee Walker. I mean, that is a ton of production. That is top-level players. And remember, they only went 7-6 last year and went to the Liberty Bowl. So, I don't know how much of a dramatic job he's got to take this year because there's sort of a restart this year for Satterfield. But if they're in the 3-win threshold, there's a potential that Satterfield's not going to keep his job. So, I think when you bring in the amount of new players they brought in, when you overhaul, your offense and your defense, I'm imagining that Satterfield's going to call the plays. He's got co-offensive coordinators now, so I'm imagining a situation where Sat's going to call the plays, but you have a new defensive coordinator. You've got all these new players. There's a lot of pressure on Sat to win, and he tried to fix it all this offseason. I think it's more got to be 5 to 6 wins. He probably keeps his job. Anything less than that, I don't know that he does. So there's significant pressure on Satterfield, not necessarily to get to a bowl game, but he's got to be close. He's got to be in the conversation for it. He's probably also got to close out November with some wins. I'm going to touch on it again, but Cincinnati's lost 10 straight November games. That's insane. They've not won a November game since 2023, and they've lost 11 of 12 in the month of November. It's been really bad. They've been really bad to close out seasons, and I think that more than anything is something that John Cunningham will be looking at when evaluating how the season goes. No doubt the pressure point is Scott Satterfield.
James 100% agrees with you. The pressure point is Scott Satterfield. And to your point, Ari, the pattern is impossible to ignore. 2023, they went 3-9. 2024, they went 5-7. 2025, they went 7-6 with a 5-game collapse to end it. The records have improved year by year by year, but the late season fade has happened year by year by year also. That's something that cannot be ignored. And James, notes that he also brings out that ESPN ranked Cincinnati 14th out of 16 Big 12 teams entering 2026, the third longest odds to win the conference. Scott Satterfield, he replaced both coordinators, brought in 22 plus portal players, and is running a completely new roster. Year 4 is accountability time.
Yeah. All right. What success actually looks like for Cincinnati football? And I don't have a number here, because I'm struggling to come up with a number. I think when we've looked at all of these programs, we've wondered what's the number that's, makes the administration happy. Is it 6 wins? Is it 7 wins? And I think for most of these, what success actually looks like is 6 wins as the basement. For me, Cincinnati, win games in November. I mean, my goodness, it's been bad. I've said it a few times. I'm going to say it again. Cincinnati has lost 10 straight November games.
How many?
10. And 11 of 12, Taman. Their last win in November came November 11th in 2023 at Houston in both of their first years in the Big 12. So, for whatever reason, they have collapsed at the end of the regular season. And that's the time in which the best teams are playing their best football. So, and not to say get off to a slow start and then finish strong, but for me, success looks like winning games in November. Avoid the November swoon, avoid the November meltdown. It's just been such an issue for them. And it's been different issues, but ultimately, if they win games in November, I think that will say a lot about the direction and trajectory of the program.
Yeah. So what success actually looks like for James, the ultimate number is 8 wins. It would be their most since 2022, and it's the next step for Scott Satterfield. It would go from 3 wins to 5 wins to 7 wins to 8, maybe even 9 wins. That would keep momentum for the program moving forward. To your point, you mentioned 6. 6 wins would be kind of the basement, the bare minimum. 6 is the bare. If the offseason narrative could get ugly,
I disagree with that. Sorry to cut you off, Taman.
Yeah,
but it is unrealistic to think that Cincinnati can get to 8 wins this year. I mean, number one, they play Texas Tech, Utah, Houston, and BYU, and Arizona. I mean, if we were looking at the top 5 preseason in the Big 12, that's all 5 of them.
Yeah.
So, and I get his point about that's the next step, but the problem is you don't have you're not returning the majority of the guys from the core that you just got to 7. Last year was the accumulation of all those players, the experience they had. That was last year's team.
Started 7-1 last year, and
now
collapsed. So
the reason 8 wins to me is that's just not happening. That is just not happening with Cincinnati football. You get to 6, that's a miracle. You get to a bowl game, that's a miracle. There are a ton of new players, a quarterback that wasn't lighting the world on fire at Georgia Southern. There's positives here. I'm not trying to be totally negative, but 8 wins is not happening. It's completely unrealistic. And it's, to me, doesn't represent the next step for Satterfield because you don't bring anybody back from last year's team and from the last couple of teams. So I would say if you get to 6 wins this year, you're building towards something where you can get to 8 or 9 wins in the next year. But that's all I'm looking for out of this team this year.
Hard to disagree, personally.
All right, so why they will win the Big 12. I pretty much just made the case of why they won't, but let me try to make the case for why they will. So offensive line is the biggest strength. Pretty good deal, pretty good position group to be your strength. And so I think if you've got a really good offensive line, now you've got a quarterback that is way more comfortable. And again, I'm not enamored with French, but he does have 815 career FBS attempts behind him. So, I mean, if he executes this RPO offense behind that offensive line with the unexpectedly deep wide receiver room that they have. Malachi Henry emerging in spring as a weapon alongside some of the other portal additions. Nate Woody's hire is a stroke of genius and is a legitimate upgrade on the defensive side of the football. He had the top defenses in the American Athletic Conference the last 2 seasons at Army and brings that aggressive philosophy that fits what the Bearcats are missing. Like, if all of these things line up, plus you get Antoine Peak, who shifts from safety to outside linebacker. Like, if all those things line up, this is a team that could wind up in Arlington. Again, not going to happen, but I'm making the case here for offensive line holds the whole thing aboard. You get J.C. French, who does a great job executing that RPO offense. He's able to take advantage down the field when he's got the opportunities to do so. And that defense, is opportunistic. They get after the quarterback. They produce a lot of sacks, leaves a lot of turnovers. That's the recipe for a surprise season for Cincinnati to get potentially to Arlington.
So James's case is very similar to yours. He does not have Cincinnati winning the Big 12, but here's why they could exceed expectations. He mentions the offensive line. Same thing you mentioned. They were led the Big 12 and ranked 9th nationally in yards per play last season, and the core is still intact. He brings up Giovanni Gibson, caught 70 passes for 1,215 yards at the FCS level in 2024. He brings the chemistry that him and J.C. French showed in the spring. He talks about the schedule, starts with 4 straight home games. Going 4-0 could change everything. And he talks about Scott Satterfield being able to develop players that nobody expected. And he said Brendan Sorsby is proof of that. He said that's the reason why they could exceed that expectation, maybe hit that 8-win mark, even though I agree with you, but that would be the best case scenario.
Why they won't, this one's more obvious. And just start with the 2 quarterbacks, right? So you're going from Sorsby to French. Sorsby was top 10 nationally in big-time throw rate. French was 75th. French is an efficient operator who needs the talent around him to elevate. Right? Sorsby is the type of guy that's explosive, that makes things happen. It's the reason that Texas Tech paid the money that they did to get him. Cincinnati has over 40 new players in their roster with basically an entire new starting unit on both sides of the ball, outside of linebacker and offensive line. The roster turnover combined with full schematic shifts on defense means this team's not going to be ready for September, right? And their Big 12 slate is tough to start. K-State and Arizona to start. They have the Texas Tech, Utah middle stretch, and then they close with BYU. They have a very, very tough schedule. Texas Tech, BYU, Utah, Houston, all in the same season. That is 6 of the top 8 teams in the Big 12 consensus odds to win the conference. They might have the toughest Big 12 schedule of anybody. And by the way, that doesn't even mention they Boston College out of conference in Miami of Ohio, which is a rivalry game and really tough. So to me, the path away from Arlington, a lot closer than the path to Arlington.
Yeah, similar here once again. Why they won't. They have over 40 new players, basically an entire new starting unit on both sides of the ball, a defense learning a brand new scheme from a coordinator with 0 Big 12 experience. French, he's never taken a Big 12 snap, and the film shows that he can only be a one-read passer. That could get exposed here in the Big 12. And the late season collapses, a pattern that keeps happening with Cincinnati. How many have they lost in a row in November, Ari?
10.
10.
And 11 of 12.
Yeah, can't have that happen. If that happens again, not winning in the Big 12.
Yeah. All right, that is our Road to Arlington deep dive. Let's catch up on this with Chad Brendel from Bearcat Journal and see how optimistic he is about the upcoming season for the Bearcats. I'm Ari Temkin. James Westling is out today. David Turner is producing and filling in for James. This is Big 12 Today from the spring meetings at the Omni PGA in Frisco. We are presented by Modelo, heard on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studios.
Looking to throw on 2nd and 12. Pressure coming. Lets it go. Has a man. Touchdown, Bearcats. It's the big fella, Jeff Caldwell. And Caldwell is back in. He was just out, and he weaves his way back inside and broke 3 tackles to angle his way for a first down.
Sorsby pulls it out and throws on target. This one to Jeff Caldwell to give the Bearcats the lead.
It's 9-on-9. Jeff Caldwell.
Hey, good morning, Chad. Good morning. I've got a dog outbreak right now. Would you guys be quiet, please? I'm trying to work. Thank you.
All good, brother. All good. We are coming back here on the second time. We got 2 minutes.
Perfect.
Yep. Hey, is your camera on?
Yeah, I'll have it on in just a second.
Okay,
I'm dealing with them.
Oh, gotcha. No worries. No worries.
We good? Like 15 minutes, then you can bark your head off. Thank you. Report.
All right, Scott, we got one. I said stop. I meant Chad. I was literally looking at Scott Satterfield's name right there.
No worries.
All right, man. Second.
Stay connected with your Big 12 sports update. This is the Big 12. This is a different league.
I'm Coach Satterfield, and I coach at Cincinnati. You're listening to Big 12 Radio exclusively on TuneIn.
Big 12 Today with Ari and James. Your home for interviews, analysis, and all things Big 12. This is Big 12 Radio on TuneIn.
Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. We are presented by Modelo here at the Big 12's annual spring meetings at the Omni PGA in Frisco. This is our deep dive series in each and every Big 12 football team heading into the season, the road to Arlington, and it concludes with the conversation here with Chad Brendel from Bearcat Journal. Chad, how are you?
Good. How you guys doing today?
Doing well, thank you. One of the questions that we answered in this Road to Arlington series is, what does success look like? And, for most teams, it's like, 6 wins, or in some cases, 8 wins or 9 wins. For Cincinnati, it's win a game in November. That's me. For me, that's what success looks like. I know you know this, but they haven't won they haven't won a game in November since November 11th of 2023. It's 10 straight losses and 11 of 12 in the month of November.
It's a lot. Try doing like post game shows in November. It's not much fun.
And I've listened to some of yours so I concur. Yeah, it's not fun to listen to either.
We try to make the best of it, but I mean they have got to figure out late season. I mean, they've been, pretty good early season the last 2 years, and then get to November and things the wheels fall off, and the hope, I think some of that is adjusting to the depth of the Big 12 conference. Not having adequate depth coming from the American. I think the roster's been fine towards the top, but just, when the rubber meets the road in November, they haven't had the horses to get across the finish line, and we'll find out if they were able to fix that in the transfer portal this year.
Yeah. So what does success look like from your vantage point for Cincinnati football this year?
One of the big things that they've talked about with Scott Satterfield is he's increased his win total every season in Cincinnati. Well, last year was 7. That makes this year 8. Fans are a little on edge. This is a program that 5 years ago was in the college football playoff, and the best season they've had since then was Luke Fickell's last season in the American, and the transition to the Big 12 has been difficult, but it's time to start producing results in the league, and that probably, do I think Scott Satterfield's in trouble if he gets to 6 or 7 wins? No, but I think in terms of getting this fan base on board, I think they need to get to 8.
But how realistic is that, Chad? They have a new defensive coordinator. It's a complete schematic shift. They have 40 new players. I get that, but I also think it's unrealistic to think that they can get there based on this roster. Or is it?
I think it's going to be really difficult, especially when you look at the schedule. The road games are very difficult. That's kind of the big question. I think they're, you need to start 3-0, obviously. Boston College at home, Western Carolina, Miami of Ohio. But, you look at these road games, Arizona, they're going to be very tough. Again, West Virginia is kind of Jekyll and Hyde. They're pretty bad on the road, but they win games at Milan Pusker Stadium. You go to Houston, who thinks that they've got a shot to compete for the title. You go to Iowa State. I don't know how good they're going to be, but they're tough at home. And then you end the season at BYU. That's 5 road games right there that, maybe they're favorite in Iowa State. I don't think they're going to be the favorite in any of the other ones. So, to get to that 5 conference wins, you have to win all your home games. Not going to be easy. Colorado, Utah, Texas Tech, and Kansas State. So the path to 8 wins is not an easy one, but what they have to hope for is that they found something in JC French that delivers. And this is not a shot at Brendan Sorsby at all, but Brendan Sorsby was at times inconsistent.
Yeah.
And they need to find a guy in JC French that manages the offense a little better and isn't as boom or bust. And last year, they were one of the most explosive offenses in the country, but it felt like it was touchdown or 3 and out. It didn't feel like there was any in between. They need to find some in between so that they don't get dominated in time of possession and that they give their defense a chance to at least stay a little fresh.
What's your feeling on the receiving core here?
I think they're going to be good. The name for me to watch after we got through spring practice was JV French or JV Gibson, who came from Oklahoma, was expected to have a big role at Oklahoma last year and then got hurt in the preseason and never really found his footing. He was very, very good in the spring. So, I think he's going to be really good, and I think they're going to be really good in the slot with the combination of Isaiah Johnson, who had a good sophomore season last year, and then Cade Wolford, who transferred in from Kent State. Kind of an electric, gadget slot receiver type. The question for me is going to be who's going to jump up and grab that second spot, the number 2 wide receiver. Lorenzo Fenner is a name that had a good spring. Elijah Jones is a redshirt sophomore that should be pretty solid. The name I'm really looking forward to, though, is Gio Contosis, 6'1", 205, redshirt freshman. He has a ton of potential. If he can step into that number 2 spot, I think the receiving core is going to be good.
Yeah, I agree there. Talking with Chad Brandell of Bearcat Journal in our Road to Arlington, Cincinnati preview, taking a look at the upcoming season for the Bearcats. Defensively, this is a dramatic shift schematically. They did the Tyson Veit, rush 3, drop 8, and now they go to that Nate Woody 3-4. Woody's had very successful defenses, especially with Sat at App State. What do you make of this transition, and do they have the personnel?
It's a great question. The question, there's two huge questions for this defense because they were bad at both of them last year. They had 2 interceptions on the season last year. On the season. Like that, it's almost impossible to only have that. Like a guy makes a bad throw and you happen to have somebody in the right spot. It just didn't happen last year at all. And that's dropping 8 on almost every play, it felt like. So one, the defensive secondary, the defensive backfield has to find a way to get the ball. And 2, they had essentially very little to no pass rush as well. So if you can't get after the quarterback and you can't turn other teams over, you're never going to get off the field. Yeah, good luck. The big name for me is Marquez Parker. He has flashed in his first 2 seasons. He needs to step up and really give them a guy off the edge that can affect the quarterback. Because, I mean, if you watch the games last year, there were far, far too many times the quarterbacks were just standing in the pocket waiting for somebody to come open. And that's a path, they decided they were going to be death by 1,000 cuts, and they ended up getting 5,000 cuts. It felt like every play was like, okay, first and 10, second and 4, first down, second and 3, first down. It was really hard to watch a defense that just gave up plays in 5-6 yard chunks every time.
Yeah. Curious so we talked earlier about 8 wins, what's realistic. Based on this schedule, I mean, they play everybody that's at the top of the Big 12 from a preseason standpoint. So, we did K-State yesterday, and K-State basically avoids those teams, and Cincinnati gets all of them. Is Scott Satterfield out of a job at 5 wins?
It's possible. It's very possible. I mean, the question there being financially, you just moved on from a basketball coach. What is the financial, ramifications of removing a football coach in the same calendar year? 5 wins, you're going to have a very unhappy fan base and a fan base that is looking for what's next if you don't get to a bowl game. That would be 4 years of Scott Satterfield and 1 bowl game. Wes Miller got 5 years, didn't make the NCAA tournament, got bounced. 4 years with 1 bowl game. I mean, that much like I said with Wes Miller, you're going to have a hard time selling season tickets. You're going to have a hard time getting people bought in if you go another season without a bowl game.
Yeah, no, well said. I would say though, we could sit here and talk about numbers, but the context matters here too, right? Like if they've built things, like if they don't collapse again in November, if they don't start 4-1 and then end up with 5 wins, if JC French feels like he's lit, I feel like if they have some momentum for a potential 8-9 win season into 2027, that's where the context is important here.
Agreed. I mean, that's been the bit last year, even 1 win in November to get them to 8.
Right.
I think we're having an entirely different conversation about the trajectory of the program. And people are believing in it a little bit more, but you get to 7-1, you're in the mix for the conference championship at that point in time, and then next thing you know, you're 7-6. I mean, that's a hard sell. That erased any of the goodwill that was built up through September and October, and just completely tossed it out the window. So you can't have that again. Because, it's a smart fan base. It's a fan base that knows sports. It's a fan base that knows, if we got a coach that can't win in November, then we've got a coach that we can't be successful with. And they've got to answer that question. They've got to step up and respond to that 1,000%.
Yeah. How much do you attribute the November issues to the current Texas Tech quarterback?
Not a ton. I mean, he wasn't great in most of those games in November. Some of it was they were playing teams that were, they faced really good defenses down the stretch. You know, that Arizona defense was excellent. The Utah defense was excellent. The BYU defense was excellent. But if you're supposed to have one of the better quarterbacks, not only in the conference, but in the country, he's got to elevate his game. And boy, especially against Utah and Arizona, I mean, he really, really struggled to find any rhythm, any consistency. He couldn't solve their man-to-man defense. He couldn't make throws in tight windows. So some of it has to go on his shoulders, but I think the root of the issue was probably more defense related in those games because they couldn't get off the field and they were getting, 3 and 4 possessions a half, which it's hard to be a high-flying, explosive offense if you're only touching the ball 3 or 4 times a half. I don't put it all on Sorsby, but some of it has to rest there.
Do you want to see Sorsby under center in that return to Nippert this year?
Look, I really like Brendan Sorsby. He was a stand-up guy here. He was when those losing streaks were happening, he was always right there in front of the media.
Yeah.
After every game, he was there on Tuesdays for the weekly press conference, taking questions and didn't back down from anything. But he bet on the sport. He bet on his own team, and this wasn't while he was at Cincinnati, as everybody knows. It was while he was at Indiana, but then he also bet on UC basketball. He bet on Indiana basketball, which, guys, you kind of have to question somebody's judgment if they're betting on Mike Woodson and IU football and Wes Miller and IU basketball or Cincinnati basketball. Like, the judgment is bad.
Yeah.
If you're going to gamble on Mike Woodson's IU basketball team, your judgment's not the best. But I just don't see any way that you can allow him to play and try to act like there's any sense of integrity in the sport, knowing that, hey, I'll just go to rehab. I'll do a minor slap on the wrist, and then I can still gamble on the games and play college sports. I was a kid in Cincinnati when the Pete Rose stuff happened. I said back then, do the time, got to do the crime, or do the crime, do the time. Unfortunately, I don't think he should play college football again.
Chad Brendel, Bearcat Journal. Chad does a great job. Go check out bearcatjournal.com and check out the great host of podcasts they have along the podcast feed for Bearcat Journal. Chad, thanks for your time as always, man. Be well.
Appreciate it, guys. Have a great week.
You too, bud. That concludes our road to Arlington, Cincinnati here as we continue on the road to Arlington, taking a deep dive into each and every Big 12 football program. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. We are presented by Modelo, heard on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studios.
Extended drive brings up a 3rd and goal. The stats crew.
Runs free.
12 Today with Ari and James. Monday through Friday, 8 to 11 Eastern Time. Your home for all things Big 12.
It's Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio from the spring meetings here at the Omni PGA in Frisco. Football coaches are convened right now. And one of the things potentially to be discussed is Chris Vanini joins me here on set from The Athletic. Chris had a piece out last night. Big 12 will discuss 10 conference games of playoff expanse to 24 teams. He got the quote, Fred Brett Yormark on that, and certainly something I'd imagine he'd be socializing with the coaches here. Chris, first off, how are you?
Good. I'm doing well. Good
Thank
to be
you.
here.
Yeah, appreciate your time. 10 conference games. So, I guess you wrote about this in your piece that this is something that the ACC and the SEC have looked at in terms of 10 Power 4 games. If a move to 24 is happening, I guess just lay it out for us.
Yeah, and Yormark is going to talk about it with the coaches this morning, and it's just an idea. But I'd asked him about non-conference scheduling because everybody's going to play 9 conference games in the Power 4 this year, 3 non-conference. The Big 12, ACC, SEC mandate a 10th Power 4 game. The Big 10 does not. So I was just asking about non-conference scheduling, potential agreements with other conferences, if that would be something that'd be interesting. And he told me that he is interested in 10 conference games, that it's something he obviously has to talk to the coaches about, and schools would have to accept that and whatnot. And it was a few reasons. One, 9 conference games has been tough. 5 home, 4 away, reverse that. It's difficult sometimes for the teams that play 5 road games in a given year. 10 would be an even number. And also it would help the TV product a bit. Conference games rate well. And the idea of having 10 that you then take to your media partners in a few years when your deal comes up is part of that as well. In the ACC, it kind of came up a little bit. The Big 10 coaches did talk about it last week. They weren't really into it. I would not be surprised if the Big 12 coaches are not into it. The SEC coaches are already upset they're playing 9. But as, we try to figure out what schedules look like moving forward, it's an idea that some people want to do.
Yeah, and like you said, it's an idea, and it's an important idea to start circulating because if you do move to 24 teams, that you're essentially getting rid of the Big 12 championship game. And as Yormark told us a couple of weeks ago, they've got to figure out a way to not just replace that revenue, but to generate revenue beyond that. They're not just going to be made whole. They want to generate even more revenue. So this is probably a path towards doing that, because if you're reducing that, you're not going to have that Big 12 championship game. A 10th conference game gives you, 16 teams playing a 10th game, so 8 additional games, which is huge for the product overall and makes a ton of sense to me. And I think the 3 leagues that right now are supporting the 24 team playoff are going to start to have to look at what that looks like in their balance sheets.
Right. And if you're making 24, what gets you in? What are you more incentivized to play a tougher non-conference schedule or not? The coaches would be against it because you add a 10th league game, half of them are getting another loss. Does that actually hurt your ability to make a playoff? That's why the SEC is so upset about moving to 9, because half of them are going to have another loss. They already are upset about making the playoff, even though they get more teams in than anybody else. So there's a few factors that go into it. TV is part of it, but if we go to a 2014 playoff, how do you get in? What's the path? How do you do what's best for your conference? That's something everybody is still trying to figure out. If we get to a 2014 playoff, which has not happened, and Greg Sankey said this week, won't make a decision on that till the fall anyway. So this is not anything that is imminent quite yet. But every league is kind of talking amongst themselves about what they could do. Heck, the SEC is talking about potentially doing their entire own thing or their own SEC playoff or something like that. So like a lot of ideas are being
right. What do you think of the idea of a 10th conference game, but you leave the final 2 weeks open and do sort of a tournament? And so you'd have, like, let's say the 1 play the 4, the 2 play the 3, and then they play the winners of each of those games and play the final week for what is a de facto Big 12 championship game. And, that to me seems more attractive in terms of the TV product overall than just flat 8 additional games.
Well, the Pac-12 this year is doing something kind of like that. Their last game of the season is a flex open game. They will have played everybody, and then that extra week, what do you do there? And the league is basically going to have the power to schedule whatever they want. There are some certain teams get home, certain teams get away, so you can't do certain matchups. You want to have everybody to have the same number of home games. But the league is going to say, would it be better if we put these two teams together to help our playoff chances, or to help teams make a bowl game, or have two teams compete for a bowl game? Like, I'm very, very curious how that Pac-12 thing is
Right.
going to go. The Big Ten kind of did this in 2020 during COVID, because teams needed games that were getting canceled, and they had planned to have on championship weekend, everybody who's not in the Big Ten championship game also plays another game. And kind of happened, kind of didn't. Some people in the Big Ten have wanted to go back to that, but everybody's trying to think of new things.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a bunch of ideas you could throw at the wall and see what sticks, and there's probably no bad ideas. In terms of the 2014 playoff overall, the depth you need now on your roster to win a national title with 12 teams, given how many games you play in the regular season, then how many in the postseason, you're close to an NFL schedule now. What's the 2014 playoff look like in terms of how many overall games that are being played and the depth then therefore needed to withstand that, win a title?
You know what happens at the end of the NFL regular season? A lot of teams are sitting their players.
Yeah.
And that is a concern from the people who are against the 2014 playoff, that may happen late in the season.
It will happen.
Knowing you may have, 4 to 5 playoff games. Now, will that happen in Michigan, Ohio State? Probably not. But it's something that I know Greg Sankey is very concerned about. He mentioned this after the last CFP meeting that I was at. That is something he very much is concerned with. So, yeah, that's something everybody's going to be thinking about. You're adding more games, especially, they are trying to add the week 0, which will give everybody 2 buys. That will help for rest. If you get rid of conference championship games, are you starting the playoff right away? Is there any break off between that? We're not really sure on that either. But, yeah, I mean, there was a time when we talked about, are we giving too many games to players? That was part of the talk and holding off on the expansion to 12. And now we're just continuing to move forward with that, and you don't hear about that as much.
Right. It's not. What do you think ultimately happens here? Because, there's a standoff. It's clear the SEC doesn't want, they want to go to 16. It's clear that the Big Ten wants 24. They need to make a decision before December for 27, 28. To me, I think they're going to stay at 12, at least until 28. What do you think?
I think we do not get an agreement. This is just my guess. We do not get an agreement on 24 for next year.
Right.
But as the SEC goes through non-conference games, and they realize they have half of them have another loss, and suddenly there's more losses on SEC teams, they start thinking maybe we do want to go to 24, because maybe an 8-4 SEC team should get in because of the schedule that they played. Not saying it's right or wrong, just saying
what it is.
That may change. There are already some SEC people who do want it. There's just not enough, I think, of a majority at this point.
Yeah, no, well said. Chris, thanks for your time, man. I appreciate it very much.
Good to be here.
Yeah, Chris Vanini joining us, had the story on Brett Yormark socializing the 10 Big 12 conference games to the football coaches meeting right now. The quote Vanini got, quote, "If we do go to 24, we should explore going to 10 conference games. It's something I would like to do on lots of different levels," end quote. We know that Yormark is looking ahead to the 2030 negotiations in TV, and a big, a huge part of that would be additional games. They talked yesterday with Big 12 basketball coaches about expanding back to 20 conference games in a couple of years. We're seeing the same thing now potentially for the Big 12 in football games. So just trying to put his best foot forward to offer the best possible package out there in TV that could drive a larger price point, and that's exactly what Yormark is working towards. All right, Chris Vanini from The Athletic joining us here on site. This is the Big 12's spring meetings at the Omni PGA of Frisco. I'm Ari Temkin. It's Big 12 Today, presented by Modelo. Heard on TuneIn and watched on Big 12 Studios.
Touchdown, Utah.
Under pressure, Dampier angles, caught. Did he get a foot down? He did. Touchdown. That's Dallin Bentley, the tight end.
It's Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio. Let's not waste any time. Let's get right to Drew Mestemaker, Oklahoma State quarterback, one of the top quarterbacks in college football last year at North Texas, transfers to Oklahoma State along with Eric Morris from Vandergrift High School in Austin, Texas. Drew, how are you? Welcome to Big 12 today.
Thank you. I'm doing good. I'm excited to be on here.
Yeah, you were just telling us during the break that you're going to be back in Stillwater in a month or a few weeks, but you're going to Disneyland this weekend.
I am.
That's amazing. So are you going with your girlfriend?
I am. Girlfriend and my mom.
That's fantastic. And so you were saying you've never been to Disneyland before. What about your girlfriend?
She has.
Okay.
She has been there.
Disney World or Disneyland?
Disneyland.
Okay, so
Yep.
second time or the first time. All right. What are you most excited about?
See, I don't really know what to expect, so just along for the ride, I guess.
Are you a roller coaster guy? Like, do you like roller coasters?
Yeah. I used to be a Six Flags guy when I was younger, so I'd always go ride those.
So what, you'd make the trip from Austin up to Dallas, and what was your favorite roller coaster?
Oof. I remember the Superman one was always awesome.
Yeah. Enjoy it while you can. I used to love roller coasters, and now when I get on them, I get so dizzy. It really sucks. You get older, and you just can't handle it anymore.
Yeah, that's funny.
All right, I mean, your story's been well documented. It's incredible. So let's start with, you arrive at North Texas, walk on. You're a fifth-string quarterback, basically. You end up, as the backup to Chandler Morris that first year. But, just kind of take us through your thought process. You're a walk-on. You hadn't played quarterback in high school, fifth-string quarterback. What was your thought process going on throughout that?
I mean, my thought process, honestly, was just build on my confidence every day, honestly. Because I knew my goal whenever I showed up there was just to try to travel. I just wanted to be on the team and experience college football. And so until about a few months, probably 2 months in, I was like, okay, I can actually compete and I'm meant to be here. I'm not just a walk on here. I'm good enough to be here. And so those first few, honestly, months was just kind of learn as much as I can, take as much as I can from the coaches, from watching Chandler, from watching everyone, even watching the defense play football, and just try to take as much and learn from not getting as many reps as I could.
So you get your first start when Chandler decides to enter the portal. You start the First Responders Bowl, and you put up ridiculous numbers, 293 yards passing. You had a 70-yard touchdown run, 448 total yards. So, okay, before that, what was the last time you started quarterback?
Freshman B team.
Freshman B team.
Yep.
So what?
I will say that freshman B team was probably the best freshman B team there's ever been because we did not let up a point the whole year and won by 40 every game.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So that was a high stakes freshman. As somebody that played in a lot of B teams in my career, I can understand that sounds like a dominant B team.
Yeah.
But you go from freshman year B team starting quarterback to not starting a quarterback until the First Responders Bowl. Was it just what you talked about in terms of the confidence you had built over the course of the season of playing with those guys? I guess what I'm asking is how do you go from all those years of not playing quarterback to starting and playing immediately very well?
I think, honestly, it's the confidence from Coach Morris and the staff and just kind of building me in those weeks before the bowl game of a bunch of team periods, a bunch of live periods, just so I can see everything. And obviously it's not the same as starting a real football game, but I also went out there with the mindset of what do I have to lose? No one knows what to expect out of me. I don't know what to expect out of me. I might as well go out there and rip it. And I feel instead of having the other mindset of, oh, I've never done this before, how am I going to do? You might as well go out there with the mindset of, I might as well just give it all I got and see what happens.
I want to give you credit because obviously Eric Morris gets a ton of credit too, but not just for you, but for many of the quarterbacks that he's helped to develop and coach. But obviously the players themselves, you got to make the plays and you got to do it yourself, right? So Morris can lead you to water, but he can't make you drink in a sense. But what does make Eric Morris so good at developing quarterbacks?
Well, I think, first of all, he makes the quarterbacks comfortable and confident in the offense. Like, if you look at how he called plays for Cam Ward and Chandler Morris and then how he calls plays for me, like, it's different.
Yeah.
Like, it's the same family of plays, but it's different. And then you also, when it's third down, can turn to your right and hand the ball to Caleb Hawkins. Like, that also makes playing quarterback easier too. And so I think just the balance of the offense and how he kind of tailors his play calling to my strengths and every quarterback he's had strengths, it just makes you that much more comfortable out on the field whenever, like, you need a play and you think of a play like, oh, I want him to call this one, and he calls it. Like, that just makes you so comfortable out there.
You know what they're saying about you, right? I mean, now the one knock would be, oh, he's got to do it at this level now, right? Like he's done it at the Group of 5 level, but he's got to do it at this level. So, I mean, what you just described as your mentality in that First Responders Bowl, is that kind of the same mentality here too?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like every football game you kind of got to go out there with that mentality. You can't think about, oh, I've got this name now, I got to play to this name. Like, I mean, I feel like the jump from freshman B team to Group 5 is probably bigger than Group 5 to Big 12. So I've done a big jump before it. So I think obviously these guys are going to be good, and every team every week is going to be good. But I think we just got to prepare like we know how and go out there and play our brand of football.
Yeah, I mean, and look, there are a lot of guys, including coaching staff, coach that come with you from Denton. But there are a lot of new players too. So how do you guys come together? How do you build that chemistry in such a short period of time?
Yeah, I think it was honestly good having so many people come with, because you got obviously the coaches who know the playbook, but then you got 15 guys who can bring all these new guys up to speed, and kind of, at least from the football side of it, I felt like we kind of learned the playbook and adjusted a lot quicker than we usually do, just because we had, a lot of people new, but so many people already knew this playbook. Like, we had guys who transferred away and then came back to Oklahoma State who have been in this playbook before. So we kind of had a lot of guys that know how we operated. And so I think it was good having all those people kind of mesh together and already know how Coach Morris likes to operate and how we like to call the offense and stuff like that. And then with the team chemistry, I feel like Coach Morris does a great job at kind of making it a huge priority for us to, not be on our phones at dinner, sit with someone new, and he does it too. So whenever, it's kind of that lead by example, but he also talks about it. Like, most coaches will be like, all right, yeah, like, go hang out on the outside, like, do whatever. But Coach Morris actually shows up every morning for breakfast, sits with someone new. And so that just kind of builds the culture from there.
We talked a little bit about Morris and his history of developing quarterbacks. How much are you able to be in contact with some of those guys like Patrick Mahomes or Cam Ward or many of the other players that he's coached and helped to develop?
Yeah, I've met Cam Ward before. He'd come by North Texas. I haven't met any of the other guys, but it's pretty cool to just be in that realm of quarterbacks that Coach Morris has coached, and be the next guy up on the list.
I mean, did you have a sense of that when you went to North Texas? Like, this guy has done, and even the guys, like the big name guys, like even a Chandler Morris, like every quarterback he's coached has had like career years when he's coached them.
Yeah. I mean, whenever I got the chance to walk on at North Texas, I didn't really know a lot about North Texas, but Miles Coleman, who I went to high school with, was probably like the best player on our, not probably, was the best player on our high school team. So we've been friends for such a long time, and I was excited about the chance to go get to play with Miles because we've grown up our whole lives together. But he was on varsity sophomore year, like all that stuff. I never got to throw to him. And so Miles obviously told me about Coach Morris and how they throw the ball a lot. And I was like, oh, sick. Like, this is going to be awesome. I get to go with someone I already know and to a coach who throws the ball a lot. I was like, what else could I ask for? And then when I got there, I kind of realized, oh, shoot, this guy really knows what he's doing and like is a really good coach. So I'm so glad that honestly I wouldn't have traded my high school career for anything because it wouldn't have led me to where I am now. And I don't think there's a better coach in the country right now.
We're talking with Drew Mestemaker, Oklahoma State quarterback, here on Big 12 Radio, Big 12 Today, in advance of a huge season with high expectations for an Oklahoma State program that hasn't won a Big 12 game in 2 years, which is remarkable for a team under Mike Gundy that was at the top of the Big 12 for such a long period of time. The thing that amazes me about you is, your conviction to continuing to play the quarterback position. I mean, college football is littered with former high school quarterbacks, that decided to transition to playing a different position. The NFL is littered with former high school and college quarterbacks that transition to different positions. Like, why do you stick to quarterback even in high school? Like, and I know you played safety, you played other positions in high school, punter, but like, how did you know in the back of your mind the entire time and have the confidence that you could, even when you had coaches at the highest level tell you couldn't?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think so. From a young age, I always wanted to play quarterback. Like, that was what I was set on. And so I put in all that work to get to that point, and then for it to get shot down, I was like, all right, I'm not going to do all that quarterback training, watch all these quarterbacks play football, study all these guys just to not play. And so I was like, I'll go anywhere to play quarterback because I knew that I was good enough. I just needed someone to take a chance on me. And so that's all I was looking for. Like, I was ready to go play JUCO football. I was ready to go play D2. I was ready to go wherever. And so I think, I had the confidence in myself, and it was probably some delusional confidence at some points, but I feel like that's honestly what you need. And I just was looking for someone to take a chance on me.
That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, delusional confidence. That's exactly right. Like, know, but it works. And I love the part of you were basically pot committed. If this were poker, it's like, well, I've done all this work at the quarterback, so I'm not just going to give up now. Like,
yeah, 100%.
Did playing quarterback help you as a safety?
Yeah, I think so. I think you kind of know what the quarterbacks are looking at. And I feel like you can read their eyes better a little bit just because, you know how progressions work, and if it's a shot play, they're reading you, like you're the one in conflict. So I feel like it helped a little bit.
Does it help the opposite too? Playing safety help you at quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the more football you play and the more football you learn, it kind of helps all across the field. And sometimes I wish I knew what I know now and I could go back and play safety. I feel like I could be such a better safety if I knew what I knew now. So I feel like just the more football you play and the more football you're around, the better it helps just everything.
And Drew Mestemaker joining us here. Drew's first season as a college starter with North Texas led the nation in passing yards, and North Texas had the number one scoring offense in the FBS with a 12-2 record, the best in school history. So not a bad start. So what are the expectations at Oklahoma State in year one?
I mean, we have high expectations for the team. We think we can be at the top of the Big 12 at the end of every year. And I feel like that's kind of the reason Coach Morris wanted to be in this conference, is he knows we can compete right away. And so everyone talks about Indiana, and, Indiana's a freaking once-in-a-lifetime team. That team didn't lose a game, and obviously that's the goal for us because that's the goal for every team. Like, no one goes into a year and is like, oh, yeah, let's mark these 2 games down as losses. Like, no one does that. So obviously we think we can win every game, but at the end of the day, we just take it week by week and try to win every day leading up to those games and try to win every game.
And I mean, I'm sure you hear the noise, about you as a draft pick. I mean, some have you for next year's draft pegs as a top 15 pick. So what does that say to you? And is that something you're working towards and something that motivates you?
Yeah, I think, if you would have asked me 2 years ago if I'd be in mock drafts already, I'd tell you you're crazy. But, it's pretty awesome to see that. But also, like, no one's going to want to draft me if I suck this year. So
Right.
I'm going to go out and perform first before any of that happens. But it's pretty cool to see that. I just think, it's a little bit down the road, and I gotta accomplish some things first before I go do that.
Well, and Cam, similar story with Cam Ward, and he becomes the first overall pick. So I mean, it can happen. So what do you have to do this year personally in order to, put yourself in position there? Like, what are the things you had to work on this offseason? How do you get better?
Yeah, I think honestly it was kind of learning these new guys and what every one of them likes, because we got some real guys on the outside, and not saying we didn't in North Texas, but it's different now. And you got real guys, real big time edges coming off the edge, and so I think it's just adjusting to what you can throw at this level and what you can't throw, and what the difference is, and kind of learning what your guys are good at. And everyone thought Miles Coleman, our 5'5" slot, wasn't gonna return kicks for us and everything, and he's going out there and making plays. So it's like guys like that, and obviously Wyatt's playing really good, Caleb's playing really good, and then we get transfers like Justin Boak and Chris Barnes on the outside who are super explosive. Like, I've never thrown to guys like Justin Boak, who can run 23 miles an hour and is 6'5". So it's just guys like that you got to kind of learn what they're good at and how they like their throws and what I want them to do. I feel like that was the biggest adjusting period during the spring.
All right, last one. We're talking with Drew Mestemaker here, Oklahoma State quarterback. It's been a great conversation, and we really appreciate your time. Obviously, you made the right choice, but you were very highly sought after in the portal. Took a visit to Oregon. Did you take less money to go to Oklahoma State?
I mean, I don't know if I can talk about that, but I figured, I mean, at the end of the day, every school is going to offer you around the same money. And so I figured I might as well go with the guys that I trust, that trust me, and I've built a relationship with already, that I know, they have their full trust in me. If I throw a pick, I'm not going to come to the sideline and they're going to be like, "What are you doing?" It's not going to be like that. And so I figured at the end of the day, it was the right move to go with the guys that I trust and I've built that relationship with.
One of the best stories in college football, and it's really cool that it continues in the Big 12 at Oklahoma State. Drew Mestemaker, the Oklahoma State quarterback. Drew, thank you so much for your time, man. Congrats on all the success so far, and good luck moving forward, man. We cannot wait to watch you this season.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
There's Drew Mestemaker joining us here on Big 12 Radio. Great stuff. Incredible story and extremely mature. I don't know if I can answer that. But, basically saying, the money's pretty equal, right? We're talking about lots of money here across the board. Maybe he took less to go to Oklahoma State, but it's negligible. And quite frankly, as he said, he knows what to expect from this staff. He's got a bunch of his former teammates with him. Caleb Hawkins, Wyatt Young. It's going to be a lot of fun. Oklahoma State's going to be very, very good this year. I have no doubt about that. And it's probably a team that, we talk about at the top of the conference, BYU and Texas Tech and Houston and Utah and Arizona. It's funny because as much hype as Oklahoma State's getting, we're probably sleeping on them too. This is Big 12 Radio, Big 12 Today. We are presented by Modelo, heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios. All right, we'll recap what we just heard from Drew Mestemaker. Plus, Let's Get It On is next. It's Big 12 Today.
Bachmeier delivers, caught miraculously by Chase Roberts.
Comfortable in the pocket here. Chase Roberts turning it. Coming the other way. Inside the 30. And Chase Roberts. And it is a bookstore, but it's really a museum.
Well, they might put that one in the museum one day. Good catch by Chase Roberts at BYU. 5 minutes to go in the first. Bachmeier surveys, pulls. Touchdown Cougars. Mr. BYU, Chase Roberts.
Off the RPO, what a strike. Chase Roberts chugging across the 40, tight ropes the sideline, and finally pulled down by Darian Lewis at the 4-yard line.
This is Big 12 Radio, Big 12 Today. I'm here at the Big 12's spring meetings at the Omni PGA in Frisco, and you're looking right now at Bear Bachmeier, the BYU sophomore quarterback at the BYU facility, getting ready for a season. Bear, how are you?
Doing well, yeah. Thank you for having me on.
What was last year like for you?
I mean,
And I mean, like, take me back to like spring football. So you spent, for people that we've talked about a lot, but you spent spring football at Stanford, Palo Alto. Your coach gets let go, and so you went to the portal. Like, what was that whole process like to get you to Provo by fall?
Yeah, it was a roller coaster of emotions. Some hard decisions were made to obviously leave Stanford and end up at BYU, and I'm so grateful and just honored to be at such a great university. Talking about the season, it was obviously a crazy season, and I thought coming in I thought we could win some games. I didn't think it would amount to what we did, and I feel like we always internally we knew, but just going out there with some swagger and showing everyone what we could do was cool.
When did you know for yourself? Because I'm sure there was doubt. You're a true freshman. You haven't played or shown at this level. Like, when did you know?
Yeah, I guess the cliche answer is that I knew right away. I mean, just kind of the guy I am, and just having that chip on my shoulder all the time, and just the competitive nature. For me personally, and then, I mean, I always knew the team was really good. We had a top 10 defense, and whatever statistically we're offense. I mean, we're very explosive and dangerous as well. So we just had a great team and a great bond.
Yeah, I mean, and you say it's a cliche answer. Honestly, it takes a level of irrational confidence to be able to do what you did last year, right? I mean, for a true freshman to start, full stop, like, that's tough. For a true freshman to start that wasn't even on campus in spring is, I thought, impossible. So what went into that? Like, was it just the fact that you knew the team around you was going to be really good? Was it your confidence? Like, just how do you do that? Because that is unbelievably impressive.
I mean, I just think it goes to the character that the coaches recruit here, and being at BYU, there's a standard that everybody meets, and just the work ethic, and even in the classroom, which we always talk about it correlating on the field, and just being a good person, and so when you take the character of student athletes at BYU and football players at BYU, and you just combine them as one team, something special happens, and so we got to keep it going.
Yeah. So what was Aaron Roderick, the BYU offensive coordinator, able to do last year? One, and then two, how much did the offense evolve for you over the course of the year?
Yeah, well, when you start off any season, you kind of you have your generic plays, and then as the season goes on, you keep implementing more stuff, and it's also tailored towards certain defenses. But no, I like how, a lot of credit, a lot of credit goes to Coach A-Rod and bringing me along, and just having that trust and confidence, and it made me play free, and it kind of showed the player that I was, and it's a testament to Coach A-Rod for sure.
So what is it, now having the full off season, like, what has that meant to your development?
Yeah, a lot. I obviously have more time to, build chemistry with the guys, and off the field activities as well. I'm a big believer in off the field activities, building that camaraderie, and so whether it's like pool parties or we were in Southern California for a little, so just building those bonds.
Yeah, so how do you do that? Is it about you kind of organizing a group? Like, kind of give us a sense of that. Or is there a bunch of you guys that are from Southern California, so it was easy? Like, kind of give us a sense of that.
Yeah, we did a little training deal in Southern California, but it's not too hard. It's usually, hey, do you want to go grab a burger or whatever, and then it's kind of just how you bond.
What question do you get more, about your first name or about your number?
Probably the number, but the name is there as well.
And Bear is your actual name, yes?
My real name is actually Michael. Yeah, named after my dad.
Okay, got it. But Tiger is also, like, same thing.
His real name is actually James. Yeah, he's the lineage of the names. Tiger's James the Fourth, and then I'm the second, named after my dad.
Bear, look, my middle name is Michael. It's a cool name, but Bear is a way better name. And same with Tiger and James. James is a very common name, so Tiger's just way more. There's another athlete with the name. I don't know if you know that, but
Yeah, no, there's a lot of family stock within the names, and yeah, my dad kind of just kept that going.
How cool is it to play with your brother?
Very cool, yeah. He's it's just awesome having my brother with me. We live together, and yeah, we did a road trip with some of the teammates up to Colorado for Memorial Day, and it was just a great time to yeah, me and Tiger there, and just all the teammates, and it's just really fun.
What'd you guys do?
We went boating and just bonfires and just live the Colorado life, I guess.
That's amazing. A lot of fun. What kind of music do you like to listen to?
I like country, and then like when I want to get groovy, I listen to like old R&B. So
Nice. What do you have like a specific routine you do before every game? Music or things you eat before every game?
no, I usually I don't when it's like pregame meal, I kind of just
eat,
throw everything on there. If it's like chicken or steak and shrimp or whatever, and some rice. So
Tell us about Kalani Sitake. What's your relationship like with him? What makes him different in your eyes?
He's just the same guy every day. I mean, I've gotten this question actually a lot of times, and he's just authentic. He's himself 24/7, and he's a great man to play for, and he's a great mentor for us players to look up to.
What'd you learn about yourself last year?
I mean, I think just earn like I've earned the right to play with confidence and play with swagger, and I mean I always had that chip on my shoulder, but just playing last year, I feel like I can just carry that kind of confidence with me, and you know, when I'm in between the lines. So
How much different will this offense look, do you think, in 2026?
I mean, thought we looked really good last year. I don't, you know, we got some great new additions that'll spark the fire, and you know, we always have a good run game with LJ and the boys up front. So yeah, we're gonna be really dangerous.
And the last thing is, you know, you have a really good feel for the run. You know, you may not have like the most yardage or be the fastest guy running, but you seem to just have a really good feel for the game of when to run and miss tackles. Like, what is that? Is that just natural to you? Is it just studying the game?
Yeah, just natural. A reason why, you know, big factor in coming to BYU was Coach A-Rod's scheme with, you know, a lot of pro-style principles, but then the implementation of the QB run game, and you know, that's who I am. I'm not going to shy away from running the ball, and just gets us in a rhythm and gets me in a rhythm as well. So
I made it up. So Hank doesn't have an awesome animal name. What's with that? Why is Hank left out?
Hank is his nickname. He's named. There again. There's a lot of family lineage,
Sure.
and yeah, his real name is William Lawrence Henry Bachmeyer, actually. But yeah, just long story. But yeah, he's just named after my dad. Kept the names in the family, and just yeah, it's really cool.
But no, like lion or, you know, bat, or I don't know. I mean, like you and Tiger got cool, awesome animal names. Like why couldn't Hank? It was just
no. I mean, it's Hank is actually special to me and my family. And like my dad's uprising as well. So yeah, his name's Hank.
Awesome. Bear, you're the best, man. Wish you nothing but the best of luck this season. It was a lot of fun to watch you last year, and can't wait to see what you do this year, man. Thank you for your time, and be well.
Yeah, thank you so much, and go Cougs.
There's Bear Bachmeyer, the BYU quarterback, joining us here on Big 12 Radio, here at the spring meetings on Big 12 Today. Big 12 Radio, presented by Modelo on TuneIn and Big 12 Studios.
He didn't get to learn from the wet snap guy that maybe playing on Sundays.
Well, he seems to be doing okay right now. As Bear Bachmeyer's pass is complete for a first down to Carson Ryan. Big chunk yard runs here tonight, though. 2 in the 40s, 1 in the 50s. Now for the end zone. Ryan! Oh, he has it. What a catch. Touchdown.
On Instagram, 1.3 million followers. It's a phenomenal museum with books from the last really 600 years.
Well, the book on this offense offense is that it has a lot of potential. Ryan making the catch for the first down.
Take Retzloff from the program. Clock fire began to start. Bear will throw another